This is Next Radio.
With Broadcast Bionics. Innovative solutions for creative people.
Good morning, good afternoon even, middle of the afternoon. Before we go any further, at TBI we do around 600 programs a year, but alongside that we do big stuff. And by big stuff, I mean stuff that is not routine. I know it's an obvious thing to say, but these aren't simple program extensions of existing work. They will be platform defining. This is something that we set out to do at the beginning. So I guess the cinema example I'm going to talk about in a moment or two will be that. They will have a very focused narrative. They'll have a very strong reason to be. They'll be telling a great story. And they will have multiple partners. And by multiple partners, I mean people within and out of the broadcaster, as well as television, radio, online. They will tend to be focused around a radio concept, though. So what's the business driver for doing these? Because there needs to be a business driver. Well, they will help you define your brand as ambitious, as bold, as creative. They will get you great press. I could fill the screen with press from things that we and other indies have done. I should say we're not the only people that do these. But they will get you great press. There'll be a fantastic halo effect, not only in time, but also in platforms. For weeks before you can talk about them, and candidly for weeks afterwards. And they will spread into social media, particularly in a way that's really powerful. They'll be incredibly motivational for your production teams and the production teams that work for you. Although we make lots of really important day-to-day programs, the 5 or 6 of these that we do a year are really important in terms of driving my team and making them think big on the day-to-day content. They will also, and this is really important, generate revenue. Taking a few examples, Woven Live with Classic FM, 100-piece orchestra. We delivered it to Classic as a contra for promo. Dam Busters on Radio 2. The ticket sales for that project allowed it to be much bigger than a PSB production budget would normally allow it to be. The Manuscript for Absolute Radio, although not a single event, a full-on comedy program produced with all of the production values you'd expect, fully funded by an advertiser. Band for a Grand, Yamaha, brand-driven content. We effectively found the band who made a single using no more than £1,000 worth of Yamaha gear. Lots of content for their social media, which went mad. An energy day for 5 Live, keeping 5 Live on air for a day using only renewable energy. Including harvesting methane from cows. Yes, methane from cows kept 5 Live on air for a day. But the reason we did it was to create a framework in which to discuss the energy debate, and it got fantastic cut-through. On to D-Day and the 6th of June this year. This was the brief that we set ourselves in terms of what we're going to do. Describe D-Day on the 70th anniversary, commemorating all those involved on both sides of the conflict and bringing the story to a wide audience in a factually accurate and engaging way. It was really important that we got this absolutely right from a tonal point of view. We had to make sure this was commemoration and not celebration. And we had to balance the impact that was felt on both sides of this conflict. If we got that wrong as a fundamental, anything else that we did would have fallen to pieces. In terms of what we did, we had already borrowed a Lancaster bomber for the D-Day similar event that we did the year before from the MOD. So we borrowed a landing craft and gave that to Chris Evans and organised an OB from Aramonche in France. Vine came live, Jeremy Vine came live from HMS Belfast. We then went to the Royal Albert Hall and told the story of D-Day from there. We worked very closely with BBC Television to make sure that what we were doing was absolutely in line with what they were doing, and working very closely with the in-house online team, who were fantastic. We did an awful lot of significant digital stuff, which would be a presentation in itself, candidly. We also produced a book, which is down here, and brilliantly, as well as the British version, there's the Dutch version. And in partnership with the BBC, that's still generating revenue for everybody. So just to give you a brief taster of what that looked like, here's 90 seconds.
On Friday the 6th of June, BBC Radio 2 and cinemas across the UK come together for the first time.
We've got a fabulous cast of actors. Sir Patrick Stewart is going to be reading the words of Winston Churchill. It's going to be broadcast live into about 180 cinemas.
For without victory, there is no survival.
It was hell.
The sea was red with blood.
D-Day, 70 years on, uniting the nation. The south of England became one large army camp.
All us 18-year-olds, we thought we were invincible.
Men were in flimsy canvas and plywood Horsa gliders.
We heard the pilot shout, "Casting off!"
I can't go on. Everything I have is gone.
Sword Beach looked a grim place.
The rising tides slopped round bodies with tin hats that bobbed grotesquely in the wave.
Hey, medics!
Company A lost half their men in the first hour on Omaha.
And many a mother wept that day for the sons they loved so well. Many cracked a joke and catch the smoke as they stormed the gates of hell.
Red, white and blue parachutes fluttering down, and they're just about the best thing that we've seen for a good many hours.
70 years may well have passed, but the stories of the men and women who served on D-Day still have the power to inspire.
So, live on Radio 2, live to BBC Red Button through a 10-camera mix, live to 200 cinemas, special 5.1 mix done for the cinemas. We had 9 OB trucks outside taking 160 circuits from the stage and a very long and very complex script to deliver. But it had ambition, and it had ambition that really, really cut through with the audience. So what do we learn from doing those things? I'm conscious of the fact that this room is full of very experienced people, so forgive me if I'm stating the obvious where these things are concerned. But as all parents know, conception is easier and considerably less messy than delivery, in my experience, usually anyway. Just about anybody can have a great idea, but delivering something that actually works is a skill that, in my experience, is harder to find, and find that you will need to do if you're going to take these sort of things on. Listen, somebody, whether it's a client, a commissioning editor, or a station owner, will have stuck their neck out to allow you to do this thing, which is probably fairly risky. It's really important that you continue to listen to them during the process, because if you don't, I promise you it will fall over. You need to understand where to create a full stop. A great concept will give and give and give, and if it's run by creative people, which most of them are, there is a critical moment in any development process where you go, right, this is it, this is what we're actually doing on the day. No more speedboats up the Thames, no more live links out of Spitfires. We'll do that next year. This is what we're actually doing, and critically how each part of that will fit into the narrative of the day. We need to continue to tell the story to someone who woke up at 6 o'clock this morning and watched Chris Evans and went to bed after a 10:30 viewing on Red Button or Radio 2 of the Albert Hall. Headroom, really important. Accept that when you do something new like this, and certainly at the Albert Hall we were doing some stuff that was very new, it will go wrong. And the 9 to 10 rule of real life, which is you can get one thing wrong in every 10, and normally you'll take people with you, goes down to a sort of 6 or 7 out of 10 with these kind of events, because you're doing things new. You need to have enough reputational headroom to be able to sustain 2 or 3 things going wrong and still take the team with you, as well as financial headroom, I should say, because these things can go spectacularly wrong if you don't manage them properly. Editorial versus operational. Providing health and safety is properly covered, editorial issues can actually be far more damaging than operational ones, in my experience. We could have caused some real damage if we'd got the editorial tone of D-Day wrong, real damage. But if the programme had fallen off air for 30 seconds because we'd taken the budget right to the edge of delivery, which is what we normally do, I'd have found that easy to defend, candidly. So accepting that editorial is the real danger area is an important part. Making the idea the star is really important, not one individual. I do remember and I've got a text here from Dermot O'Leary, which I got at 23:46 on June the 5th, as I stood in the hotel ready to go to the Albert Hall for 5 o'clock the following morning. Don't want to alarm you, but I appear to be losing my voice. I'm sure it'll be okay. But it's not really happened before. Now, Dermot was doing exactly what he should. He sent me a text, but although he was a really important part of this day, Had he not been available to be there the following day, we would still have made it work. If you're going for a single artist concept, if that single artist has got a sore throat, all bets are off. So making the idea bigger than a single artist or a single person involved is really important. Lateral thought. Virtually everything we did operationally for D-Day was on a restricted budget, aren't they always? So we had to question virtually everything we did and make sure that we were doing things really cheaply, but normally really expensively. The caveat there is lateral thought tends to mean you need to understand the rules before you bend them. And managing expectations, really important. Under-promise and over-deliver. It's really easy to over-deliver on these projects. I worked on the Pepsi chart for 10 years. The sales team sold 12 brand mentions for a weekly promotion. I learned very quickly that if we formatted the show to deliver 13, we'd always have a delighted client. We usually over-delivered, but even if we had to drop them along the way, we still delivered. If you formatted 12 from the beginning, the best you could ever do was deliver something normal. If everything went wrong, you had a bad Monday. So actually setting things up so you can under-promise and over-deliver is important. Finally, in fact, to demonstrate that, I finish with a quote that we found as part of a World Service program that we made a couple of weeks ago. This is John Reith, eventually Lord Reith, founder of the BBC, delivering an opening announcement for the World Service as it was launched just over 90 years ago.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This occasion is as significant as any in the 10 years of British broadcasting. It is a significant occasion in the history of the British Empire. As to programs, don't expect too much in the early days. The programs will neither be very interesting nor very good.
The programs will neither be very interesting nor very good. Wouldn't it be great as we approach MUX 2? Maybe not. But it is a level of clarity and honesty delivered by one of our founding fathers at the beginning of a big idea, a very big idea, that I suspect we can all still learn from. Thank you very much indeed.
This is Next Radio.
With Broadcast Bionics, innovative solutions for creative people.